Nick Banks, welcome to the Everyday Millionaire Live podcast. Well, it's kind of Everyday Millionaire Rain Channel. It's it's kind of a combination, right? Well, welcome,
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of things we're morphing into this one.
Nick.
So I don't know if you can tell, but I'm in the phone booth. So this is if it looks strange in here.
Okay,
And
all I
we
want
have-
to know,
we have pink walls.
all I want to know is if you're in the phone booth, are you going to emerge as Superman? Those are the days, right? Do you remember those days?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, Superman. Well, listen, we're talking a little bit about Superman. We're
Of course.
talking about being, finding that inner warrior for men. This is the event that we've got coming up on October 30th here in Langley, British Columbia. So if you're from British Columbia, mark October 30th on your calendar. We've got an evening for men discovering and talking about inner warrior. In a weird and kind of mixed up world these days, it's time for men to come together and start defining some things for themselves. That's my kind of overarching thought process.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, Patrick.
So listen, what are we going to get on that night? I wanted to push this out and really talk about what is the evening about. And, without getting into the esoteric part of it, because it's really one of those evenings where it is about having meaningful conversations about self-discovery, about getting to getting to who we are. But having said that, I want to put some meat on the bone of what the evening's about. And listen, ultimately, the evening is about living a values-based life. What does that even mean? And why do I want to live a values-based life? And how it impacts the decisions we make, how it impacts how we live our life, even from a health and fitness point of view, business, career, relationships. So what we're laying is the foundation and giving you some tools to go out with and say, something, how can I create the life that I want intentionally and be in alignment with what's important to me in my life, whether it be health and fitness, business, career, relationship, whatever that might be. So Nick, you're going to join me. You've done a lot of work with men over the years. Yep. And talk to me a little bit about mission, because I know you do a lot of work around mission and mission statements and what drives you. Give us a little bit of insight.
Yeah, so it's perfect. And I honor, as I always do, all of the teachers, as you do, PF as well, that have kind of got me to where I am. And I said somewhere the other day that there's not a lot new in kind of the personal development world. And if you think there is something new, Drucker probably said it 60 years ago. So it's like, but at the same time, I really do make sure that I like to honor those teachers that gave me these gifts and some of these concepts. But the mission for me is a culmination or a gathering, a conglomerate of your values. And I know, it's funny, you're kind of the values guy and I'm kind of the mission guy. And, together we're a good match in that world. But to me, the mission is very succinct. It's how do you want to leave everyone you come into contact with? Mm-hmm. And it's a summary really in many ways of what are your values? What do you value? Succinctly said in one statement. And you kind of went back, you talked a little bit about kind of decision making. And this is one of the aspects. And there's a few different really practical applications of the mission, whether it's in business or whether it's in your own personal life, because, business is just typically just a vehicle that's an extension of your own personal calling or mission or purpose, whatever the word is that you want to choose, right? And so looking, when you have that dialed in, you have that clarity. And what was it you said about values and or clarity and velocity? You just said it before
I said clarity equals velocity. And that really stems to the point of when you are clear on your values, on your mission, as you talk about, when you're clear, you make decisions quicker and you start to move with velocity. But 100%. You also have another little spin on that, which is, there is no rush.
Yeah, right. Like the idea of that we're in some rush to get somewhere. But people can sometimes take that there is no rush type of idea and twist that into, well, then I can just be slothful or I can go slowly or whatever. And that's not what we're talking, because velocity is incredibly important. Like moving with some velocity, moving from A to B. I mean, talk to a pilot about velocity. It's pretty key when you're talking about keeping an airplane in the air, that sort of thing. So it's there is a key there. But to come back to one of the other points you were talking about was the decision making, right? So this ability, if you have clarity in your values and in a mission, it's very easy to make decisions, or can be very easy to make decisions, right? Faced with a decision, hold it up to your mission statement, hold it up to your values. Is this consistent with it? If it's not, don't do it. If it is, great. Can you do better? Can you actually elevate that? So looking at those areas and looking to see when you have that clarity of values and clarity of mission, becomes pretty straightforward to make those types of decisions.
It's interesting right now. We see the divisiveness and the polarity of what's going on in the world, and whether that be, Hamas and Egypt, Russia and Ukraine, what's going on in Europe, what's happening over in the UK. I mean, there is a lot of stuff going on, and, people seem to be picking sides. And how do we live into that world? How do we consider the fact that it feels like the economy is going to implode? Lots of stress, lots of anxiety, lots of concerns about rising interest rates and rising housing prices and rising rents and inflation and hyperinflation. And, this puts us into a space of, I guess, of a lot of wondering, a lot of not understanding where to go, where to turn to. Men have a tendency to carry that load differently than women. And it's not one is right and one is wrong. It's just totally different, or often totally different. And so, the evening is about getting together with like-minded men to have a discussion about what are our values, what drives us, how do we make decisions, how do we actually incorporate and not give up on our health and wellness, as an example. How do we maintain and build stronger relationships, attract great people into our life? And maybe some people have got to go from your life. The point is that these are decisions that we make based on values, based on mission, based on understanding what we want our life to be. And, and I'm working with a lot of men right now, as a matter of fact, but the point is I'm seeing time and again where men are lacking clarity. There is just such a divide in woke, unwoke, right, left. It's like, what are you talking about right now? Can I just get clear? And it really is about you. You are the center of your universe. Nick, we talk about it all the time. When you are the center of your universe, when you really understand that and can grasp that, when you understand that it's literally who, not how, you start to make decisions differently, and you start to look after those people around you that you feel that you want to. So I know where to go with it. Take
just a quick cut at that. It's not the who, the how, the statement, because that's interesting. And I think we were talking about this before we got on the air, and you kind of broke that down a little bit for me. And I think that could be really valuable.
Well, I think here's what I've come to understand is that there is a fundamental that we have this, we see this meme all the time, or we see these tiles on social media. It's not the journey, it's who you have to become, or it's not the goal, it's who you have to become to achieve the goal. Who do you have to develop on the journey to achieving that goal? So a lot of, I just had this conversation last night with a group of men I work with, and, I said, one says, just tell me how and I'll go do it. Give me the framework, tell me all the points, and I'll go do it. And, I said to him at the time, I go, no, you won't. I'll give you the hows, and you still then have to become the person to pull off those hows, the execution. So, the exercise here, and for those of you who might be watching this, is, you look at the vision down the road, look at your 5-year, your 3-year vision, and ask yourself, who does that person look like?
Right.
Like, if I want to live that vision, have that goal, what does it look like? How do I dress? How do I talk? Who am I hanging out with?
What am I doing in my spare time?
Yeah. What am I doing with my recreation? What does it look like?
Right.
Who are the people I'm hanging out with? And when you start to realize that it is literally who, not how, the how is far easier. Not that you don't have to work hard to execute, but it's in the drive and in the understanding of the who, not how.
How is mechanics and tactics, but that's really all that is. And that can be worked backwards quite easily.
It is an interesting kind of exercise, if you will, to, think about where you might have been 5 years ago and how far you've come 5 years later. Almost always, it's not where I want to be. It's not enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not slim enough. Whatever the story is, that's often what it is. I expected more money, but forget about that. How far have you come in the past 5 years in your own development? As an individual. And you start to recognize, actually, you're not the same person you were 5 years ago, 3 years ago. Hell, you're not the same person you were 10 days ago.
Yeah.
So this is such an interesting concept to look at. And then when you start to view and look out 5 years, you start to say, okay, if I'm going to have that goal, who will I be? Who do I have to be?
Yeah.
Right. And it changes your brain and how you fire. Now, having said that, the tools that we want to provide on the evening of October 30th in Langley, BC, is to get together with like-minded men and really have a meaningful conversation about values. What are they? What are your values? Have you considered them? And then, walk men through the thought process of how does that connect to a mission that drives you?
Yeah, perfect.
And so, go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just going to link back to, because I know that one aspect of the evening will be some discussion about health and fitness as well. I mean, I know we've got a trainer coming that evening as well. Is that right? And you're one of your guys.
Yeah,
and you know how important it is to me. And you were talking, earlier about all the news and all the bad news and all that kind of stuff. And for me, there's like one primary thing that helps me really cope with a lot of that stuff, and that's exercise.
100%. We got to look after ourselves. If we're the center of our universe, looking after ourselves is critical, and it gives us the energy and the capacity to look after those around us that we feel responsible for, family and significant others and children, perhaps. There's a thing about all this. I'm the kind of the old man. I'm the OG, which is not gangsta, is old guy. And, the thing is that, in business for 40 years, and I understand a few things about business now, and I've learned some really expensive lessons, some hard lessons. But at the end of the day, what I do come with is understanding what it is that can support you in developing your career, developing your business, whatever that might be, and how these conversations are the literal platform for what can launch your business into whatever's next for you. And it's an exciting body of work to do. So, Nick, what do you want to leave off? What do you want to make sure that everybody gets about the evening of October 30th?
Yeah, I think, I think out of the evening, you're going to come away with like minimum, like you'll walk away with one thing that you'll use and it will make an immediate impact on your life. Positive. That would be a guarantee I'd be gladly happy to throw down on my part.
Yeah. There's something that values leads to, and this conversation is going to lead to. Both you and I are really, in doing this body of work, are living our purpose. Stephanie and I do this, the Everyday Millionaire Mindset Matters podcast. And that really is us living our purpose of making a difference, of being a contribution, of offering food for thought, and providing some tools for people to consider how they can have a brilliant life by design and create your life by design. Actually, not be read and react and fighting fires every day. It literally is creating a life by design intentionally. So that's what that's all about at the Inner Warrior Workshop, brought to you by the Shift Coaching Programs. And Nikki, you're going to be there, the Everyday Millionaire. I want to say thanks, and thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, always stoked.